So, Assalamualaikum and very good morning. So today, again, we continue our class for for programming techniques. Okay, so it's been a while since our last class. I think more than a month. Okay, almost a month. Okay, due to a lot of things, and with the flooding, everything, your midterm break, everything, right? So hopefully you guys still remember most of the content that I have been discussing with you guys. And hopefully we only have 2 more chapters left this week and next week. And then after that, we will conduct a hand-on test 2, skill-based test 2. Hand-on test, skill-based test, almost the same. Okay, skill-based test 2. And on the way, I will give around 2 more quiz online, like Google Form quiz. But for skill-based test 2, it will be a little bit more difficult. I confused skill-based test or hand-on test. I think hand-on test. For hand-on test 2, it's a little bit more difficult. Due to the coverage of the course. Okay, you know that for programming, you cannot make a half-half course. That means the half topic in the middle, another half in the end. No. Programming means that you have to utilize everything from the beginning until the end. So for hand-on test 2 will be a little bit difficult since you have to utilize a lot of things like file processing, modular programming, okay, and also some of your arrays and then pointers. I hope I will. It's not advisable to use pointers because you tend to do a lot of mistake for the hand-on test, and I will not even allocate marks for pointers. But for you guys lah. But for computer science students, we require them to learn pointers since it's a much more, it's an important context in terms of their continuous courses. Okay, they have second year, third year courses that continues for programming techniques. They need them to understand pointers, but you guys don't have them, so I don't encourage you guys to use them that much unless you really understand how it works. Okay, so last class, which is the pointers, which was conducted during the period of flooding. Okay, you guys saw the video, right? Right.
Yeah, we watched them.
You saw them. Okay, so there is an attendance there because I will take the attendance based on the form there. So make sure you guys fill in the attendance so that later on you will be counted as attending the class, and there will be a quiz based on pointers as well. Okay, so one of the quiz, another 2 quiz, one of the quiz will be based on pointers. Okay, so and then the last quiz will be based on everything. So for pointers, the quiz is a little bit tricky. So later on I will explain to you based on the question lah. Okay, so this is just to test your understanding of pointers. Okay, so this week we will go ahead to our next class, which is under modular programming. So modular programming, okay, what do you understand by modular exactly? So modular means splitting, okay, splitting programming. So means that if you have a very long code, it's hard for you to debug. It means that you check whether you have a problem where. So expert programmers, they tend to make their program according to certain segments, a number of segments. So these segments, okay, they are based on modules. Means that there are modules for display, printf, there are modules for scanning, okay, scanf, there are modules for calculation. Okay, so all these modules, okay, can be created by different person but combined under one program. So when you have a program, okay, when you execute your program, there's a problem. You can easily know which section does the programs had the problem in. Okay, so you can blame the person who managing that program lah. No need to look at every code. You know that in this section, then this is a problem. So in modular programming, okay, so here I will explain you the need for functions, how to write functions, how to call and return from function. Okay, so the means function here, let's just take one example. How do you conduct calculation? You guys are science students, right? So you guys must be proficient with math. So how do you conduct the calculation of square root? Can anybody explain to me? Square root. How do you do calculation with for square root? Square root. You know square root? Square root of 4 is 2, right? So how do you conduct square root? Anybody here can give me an example? Or is it difficult for you guys to understand? Square root what? How to calculate square root? Okay, never mind lah. Give you an example. Sine of certain angle. How do you conduct sine? Calculation sine. The formula, what is the formula for sine? Sine 30 degree, sine 40 degree. What is the formula for sine? Do you guys know sine? S-I-N.
Is it opposite over hypotenuse?
Opposite over hypotenuse, right? Okay, so when you want to do sine, okay, for example, sine 30 degree, you need to make sure that you have the opposite divided by hypotenuse, right? Okay, so when okay, opposite side divided by hypotenuse. So when you do programming of sine of 30 degrees is this value. Okay, so you create your own formula. What is the formula of sine? So when you create your own formula, you can repeatedly use that formula. Okay, in coding, all formula must be created priorly so that the computer know what to do. But the computer is a little bit dumb because you need to define, okay, what sine is, cosine is, tangent is, okay, velocity, how to convert velocity to distance, okay, displacement, okay. So all of those, okay, they need a certain formula, right? So this formula, okay, is what define the function. For example, function of velocity to displacement, they will need a certain formula. So you need to write a code for that formula, using that formula. So this is where we have functions. Okay, so let's just continue a little bit. I think you guys can understand it a little bit further. So for example, we have built-in function and user-defined function. Okay, for your programming lah. So far, what you do with built-in function here is printf and scanf, where you take data and display data based on the information that you have. Okay, so this built-in function is already in your C compiler within a C library called the stdio.h, the one that you always type. Include stdio.h. That is a library where it store the meaning of all the functions that you're about to use, including printf and scanf. But there are certain functions that you need to create yourself instead of referring to the library. It doesn't exist in the library. So one of the functions, okay, all of those functions that you create yourself is what we call a user-defined function. So the user-defined function is where we have to declare and define. Means that if it's a sine function, okay, using that sine function, you can calculate the sine value of certain angle. Okay, so what is exactly the sine function? Okay, what is exactly the sine function? So the sine function is a part of a mathematical equation, okay, that you create so that you can often use it anytime that you want. Okay, so it can be called by multiple time lah. So three main elements in using the function is the function declaration, prototype, the function definition, and how you call the function. So in function, there are also data type. Okay, so far you create like integer, integer age, okay, character, gender, okay. So function also, they have their own data type, because the data type is what the function output is. Okay, so if the function output will give you a value in integer, so the data type must be integer. If the value is character, it must be in character. So we have two type of function where we call it global function and local function. So global function is things that you have to remain constant all the time. It cannot be changed. Okay, like for example, pi equal 3 point, no, not pi, means that for global variable is pi, right? But global function means that, and like for example, a certain formula that will not be changed in your code, so you need to define it, okay, outside of the main function. And then they have local function where you use the function multiple time inside your code, and it change a lot during your programming execution. Okay, let's just give you one example. Okay, so a global function is when you have to define a function outside of your main. Okay, so here this is a function for test print. Okay, test print. So this test print, they have an input integer. Input must be integer, and the test print is a variable void. Void means it can be any variable. So if you want to make sure you are sure that the outcome is integer, you can put in integer. Okay, if the count, if you confirm is character, you can put in character. If not, just put it void. So this is outside and this is inside. Okay, when it remain outside, means that test print can be used in all codes. If you have main here and then you have another code down here, it can be used in any code. You can use test print, everything. But if the function is declared inside main means that it can only be used between these main two brackets. Okay, so this is different between global function and local function. So you have function name and then you have this parameter. Like for example, this one is test print and then this is num. Num is a variable of integer. Okay, so here function name is a compulsory and parameter is optional. It depends on the input. Okay, so you have an input for this function is number, and here the output from this function is equal to get num. Okay, so this is how we use the function. So this function is where we define it. And then for when you want to declare a function, okay, what does test print is? So you have to include data type. So if you're not sure, you can put void, and then you have this function name test print, parameter maybe integer, and here you define what does this function is about. Okay, is this function getting information from the user and displaying something? Okay, this is up to you to decide what the content is. Okay, so stay with me. If you do not understand, don't worry, don't bang your head at the table yet. I will demonstrate to you some of the example later. Okay, so here all of those functions, they must be enclosed within between braces of this. It's same like main. Okay, only that main is the main function. Okay, the other functions what we call sub functions. Okay, this is what we use inside the main. Okay, to simplify our code. You have the return value, means that the function give what value back, and then you have arguments which parameters that the function needs to operate the return value. So this is where you have all these three information, okay, to create your own function. Example 1, void display integer no. Okay, so here is one function. Okay, so here no is equal 5. Printf value num is no, which is 5. So next time when you put in display, okay, and here you put in anything, okay, for 5, it will display out 5. Okay, let me just demonstrate to you. Okay, let's go towards our code blocks. Okay, so we create new file. So you guys still remember this, right? Even though we have a long holiday, okay, with a lot of tragedy, so supposedly you guys should still remember. Okay, so here, like for example, we put stdio.h include. Okay, so here forgot. Okay, so you have your main here. Main. Okay, so here is main. Okay, down here we create another function which is void display integer no. Oops, wrong spelling. Okay, so here is a number equal 5. Okay, printf no. Okay, so here need to define, remember that you need to define your variable up top. So when you want to define, you just copy this, put it on top, put a bracket. Okay, and then here let's put in display. So let's try build. Too many arguments in function display too few arguments, so let's put in, just for sake of learning, okay, integer x equal 1. Put x. Okay, no error. So when we run it, you see that we have value for num is 5. Okay, so you have this. Okay, a little bit further, this is not included in the main, so you put display only, display, and here you see that value for num is 5. Okay, so it printf this value. So basically, okay, this is okay, let's just remove this one. No, it's 5. So what happened? You guys can hear me, right? You guys can hear me, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I thought I was talking alone. Okay, so when you run it, you see this is 1. Okay, so here what happened here is that okay, the value from X here is being inserted into display, okay, and then from display it pull out down here 1, okay, so and then it calculates and pull out. Okay, so let's for example run. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, integer y equal 2. Okay, then put display y, and then integer z equal 3, and then display c. Okay, so I have this 3. So what do you think the output will be? So let's take a look. So when you run it, you can see that this is the result. Okay, value for num 1, okay, value for num is 2, value for num is 3. You see how I simplify the code? Instead of I writing this multiple time, okay, I can simplify the code into a smaller version. So like for example here, I want to add print f, okay, the above the above number is a result of your calculation. So you can type a lot of things, okay, here, okay, very difficult things here, okay, very annoying thing to write. So when you do something like that, right, a lot of things here happening inside this function here. So you see that it will repeat 3 times, okay, because I call it 3 times. See, so I don't need to type it again 3 times because I can just use it, type it 1 and I use it 3 times, something like here. So if you use a little bit more simple, okay, name like disp, okay, disp, okay, like this one. Okay, then you reduce everything here, then you compile and you run again. Okay, it's the same thing, but your main now is quite short. Okay, so on overall you reduce your line for programming quite a lot, less work to do. So this is why we use modular programming. We tend to use it to reduce our programming workload. Okay, so if you use it like this, sometimes it even increase performance of your PC, reduce the lag time of your codes. Okay, so this is why we use modular programming. So this is one of this is the same example. Okay, so you have here void display declaration, and then you have void main, okay, and then you have this one function, everything, right? So here you can what you see just now is that, okay, you have this declaration up here, and then you have your main, and from here you put in greetings. Greetings we call the function, okay, somewhere here, okay, somewhere here. So at the end it will return back all the information into the main function. So that's why we have sometimes a lot of good programmer, okay, who program with C, they have very short main, but with the functions they have very long functions. Okay, and the functions usually we reuse them multiple time, okay, according to, okay, in a different, we can use them multiple time. We have different codes. Okay, currently we create this function for code A, but next time we want to do code B, or you think that, oh, last function from code A I can use, okay, you can just take the function, copy the function and paste into code B. Okay, so this make job easier lah for those programmers. Okay, so this is an exercise here. Write a function name number that read an integer number from user and display it on the screen. Oh, okay, so now I want you guys to do it by yourself. Okay, I put in some example here. This one is that I take the data from main, okay, and then display. Now I want you to create a function that asks the user what number should the user key in. Okay, to ask the user to key in any number lah, basically. Okay, now you have display, you have to create your own. Okay, like for example, the new function here, ask user. Okay, so when you create ask user here, what should you do? You need to have up here, okay, up here, the declaration. Okay, I give you one, the first one I'll give you example lah. Okay, so like for example here I have void ask user. Okay, so here put in maybe integer, okay, something like that. no need integer maybe. Here integer number also can. Okay. Ask user, no need to have argument lah. Maybe 1. No need to have argument. So ask user, and then x is equal ask user. So here down here we create void ask user printf please key in your favorite number. Okay, and then you have scanf %d here you need to define okay, I'm not sure whether this is going to work or not. Let's try it first. First use of declaration integer x. Okay, in function as user expected before scanf. Okay. Okay, one more error. Value is not error in function main. A value is not. Oh, so this one is because we did not define this properly as integer. Okay, no error. So let's build it. Okay, this is what it comes out. Key in my favorite number 3. Nothing come out. So what's wrong here? Display x. X equal as user void display. Still no. Return. Without plus return. So put in 3. Supposedly it can put out the number. Okay, if you can guys, you guys can do it with me. Okay, if you find out the answer, okay, you can tell me what did I make mistake in. So you have to move this one. No, I need to have them. Okay. It didn't continue downwards. Same thing, put 5. Supposedly it continues to the end. So usually if I have some problem like this, I start with this debug. I put something with like this. So when I have problems, like in this case, I don't know what went wrong, so I try to put it here. So means that it's stuck here. Means they didn't display the debug. So what's wrong here? Scanf. Did I do it wrong? Anybody can check whether I did the scanf correct or wrong? Because it didn't display this debug. So I put it down here, another one at the top, debug 1, debug 2. So when I try the code again, okay, debug 1 came out, but debug 2 no. So means there is a problem here at my scanf. Anybody can tell me what is my problem here? Anybody notice? What's wrong with my scanf? Can anybody tell me? No one? No response? Hello? Can you guys hear me or not? Hello? You guys cannot hear me? The space at %d, supposedly this will not be a problem. So let's try. So here's the result. Put in 4. Ah, you are correct. Surprisingly, the space at %d is the problem. Okay, thank you very much. Who the one who mentioned this before? Nadira. Okay, you are correct. The space at %d was the problem. Okay, so let's try again. Okay, no error here. You see that when I put in the number, okay, 3. You see, value for num is 1 and the number result of calculation now 1. Or why is it still 1? So why is it still 1? I put in 3. This is a mystery. Okay, return. We put in return number. Okay, so I put in 3. Okay, 3. So you guys notice what I did. So here is where I ask the user. Okay, I have 3 functions. The main function here 1. I have the first function is ask the user, and then I have the second function void display here. So ask user is asking the user to key in certain number, and once I got the certain number, I return that number to the asking function. Okay, the function that asks for this is main. Main is asking ask user to give it the number, and what I return is stored as variable x. Okay, and then I display x. So x here, if I put in 3 here, okay, it will go back here and it stores x as 3, and then it goes 3 down here. Display will receive the number 3 and it will print f the value here. Okay, you see that I have this a shorter code this one. So this is one of the benefit when you create modular programming. You mean that this code is already correct, I don't want to see it, I can minimize it. So this one also correct, I don't want to see it, I minimize it, so I can work out on my main only. So you have 3 functions here. Okay, so firstly you need to declare all other than the main function outside before main. Okay, declare it first, and then you define what are those function is. Okay, so you see that it's easy for us to troubleshoot the codes in case there are any problem. So troubleshooting is also one of the solution when you do programming. Okay, so next here I have a function. Okay, the second question is, okay, I'll write a function, okay, named GetSum that read 2 integers number from user and display the sum on the screen. Okay, now I have given you one example here how to get number from the user and then how to display. Now next is your task to create to me and demonstrate to me how do you get the sum of 2 numbers based on what I did before. So I'm going to take a break. I need to take a phone call first. Okay, I'll get back in 5 minutes and then please try to explain to me how you do it. Okay, so try and do it in your own packet trace and not packet tracer, your own code blocks, and you can share your screen later on with me. Okay, so I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, screen. Okay, so let's take a look. Oh, saya lupa nak copy paste code saya dekat you guys. Lagi senang you guys nak copy, kalau nak tengok satu-satu susah kan. Okay, so faster like that lah. Okay, so the code that I did before, okay, in the apa ni chat, you can copy paste, try yourself. Okay, Lokman. Okay, what's wrong with this? Enter 2 integer. You kena buat scanf 2 kali lah. Okay, scanf 2 kali. Okay, scanf 2 kali. Scanf number 1, scanf number 2. Okay. Tapi macam ni, how can I say you buat yang scanf saya tadi kan, satu number kan, tapi you panggil 2 kali, ask user 2 kali. Faham tak? Macam saya buat tadi kan, tapi you ask user 2 kali, satu X, satu Y. Lepas tu you buatlah z equal x tambah y. Display z. Macam tu. Semua dalam function ask user tu satu je. Tanya satu number je. Tak payah first tanya enter one integer. Enter one integer. So scan f tu satu number je. Tak payah calculate dalam tu. Okay. So buat yang lain. Return number. Nanti kena buat return number tu. Return number. Okay. Okay, dekat atas tu ask user tu awak buat 2 kali. X equal ask user, y equal ask user. 2 kali kan. Lepas tu buatlah kat bawah y equal ask user tu you buatlah z equal x plus y. Kena define lah y dengan z tu. Okay, and then display z. Display z dekat bawah tu. Display bukan display x, display z. Tak payah tiga-tiga. Display z je. Yang display tu kan display dalam bracket x tu kan. Dalam bracket tu tukar z. Okay. Number print f tu, print f no. Jangan print f ni. Number tu print f no. Sebab yang ni, okay, tu dah beza global dengan local function. So when you use local function, yang dalam main, integer dalam main will remain in main. Integer number yang dalam ask user will remain in ask user. Okay, no yang dalam display akan remain no. So dekat printf inside display tu, you see you put number 3 kan. You need to change them into no. Because the one you see dekat when you define the display integer no tu kan. That representing the number inside that one lah, inside the bracket lah. Okay, so now cuba try compile. Tak ada ni. GetSum tu atas tak payah. GetSum tu tukar ask user, void ask user. Cuba try buat dulu. Ask user. Okay. So mana yang salah? Tengok apa problem? Okay, x, y. So you kena tukar integer ask user. Atas sekali tukar void ask user tu, you tukar integer ask user. Yes. Okay, cuba run. Okay, ada keluar.
Boleh.
Cuba try, tunjuk dekat screen.
Silap. Kena tukar window.
Tukar jadi full screen lah. Okay. You have integer 1, integer 2, value of your calculation is 3. Okay. So boleh tak Lokman copy letak dekat message so that your friends can take it and use it as example. Okay, boleh stop sharing lah. Okay. So I'll share back the screen. Okay, this is what Lokman did. Okay, so this is what Lokman did. Okay, you have okay, this is what Lokman did. Okay, so when you run it, you can see that you have entered one integer. Okay, input 2, enter one integer 3, calculation result is 5. So in the question, they ask us to function name GetSum. They read 2 integer numbers from user and display the sum on screen. Okay, so this one is a little bit much more tricky. Okay, you create one void GetSum, integer lah, because the answer is integer, right? GetSum. Then you have integer x, integer y. No, just to make sure that you are not confusing. A, B. Then this is I create function here. Okay, so here you see that I have integer a. No. GetSum. No, don't need this one. Okay, so here I have integer x and Y, and also Z. So here basically I want to do this lah, but I do it inside here. Okay. Okay, ask user, and then I have return Z. So here at top here I put in GetSum. Okay, so here is Z. Maybe sum lah, kita guna sum. Display sum. Okay, you can see that I create a function. Okay, create a function here, new function, GetSum. And this function use the function as user. Okay, use the function as user. And inside main, we have this GetSum and display. Okay, so let's see how it works. Okay, no error, no error. So run. So here is the same thing. What happened here? Integer 1, 2, 3. The calculation is 5. Okay, you can see that I create another one down here. Okay, so I don't have to if I need to ask 5 people, I can just put 4, okay, and get 5 sum, something like that. So here is an example. Or you want to do it never mind. Okay, so let's just figure this first. Okay, you see that I create this code with 3 function. Thank you to Lokman. Okay, we have 3 function. So the first function is display down here. The second function is ask user. The third function is GetSum. Okay, and then we have the main function. Okay, you guys can understand this, right? Okay, so we have GetSum is to ask the user, to ask the user to get information from the user and calculate the sum based on the amount entered. Okay, but we have another inside GetSum, another function that asks the user. Here you have function that asks the user and get the number. And here we have the display. So you see inside a function you can have also another function. Okay, same thing. So at the end your main function will be very short. Okay, you don't need to put a lot inside your main function because you have simplified and separated it according to your function task. So the good thing is that if you do programming as a team, you can distribute your tasks easier among the team. Okay, like for example, okay, you have 5 person. Okay, this person create this function, second person create this function, third person create this function. And you can even separate it as a file, and the file that read those functions, that combines all those functions, is what we call header file. So include stdio.h means that stdio.h also a header file. There is a file out there with a library, within a library, that has the formula for printf or for scanf. So this is, we combine it using a header file. So the same thing here, you can create your own header file. Okay, but in this case we didn't do the header file, we do it as one sheet of program. Okay, so let's proceed more. We have a long way to go yet. Okay, so based on what we did, you have basic functions that usually we use void. Void means that we don't have a determined outcome, output that we want from that function. Okay, in this case we use integer because we already know the output from the function is an integer, so it must be integer. So you can use to have a float or string, or even you want it to have characters. Okay, it's up to you depending on what you use your program for. Okay, in case you don't have a determined answer for that, what do you want to return? Like this case, we have display, we have nothing to return. You can use void for it. Okay, so here you can see that this is an example. Okay, you have this void print1 integer x, integer main void inside here. It going to put in print1 and then return 0. So in this case, inside print1 there is a variable a entering data of 5. But in print1, it recognizes the data 5 inserted here as integer x. Okay, so this is the different. This is a local variable for print1. This is a local variable for main. Okay, a is local variable for main, x is local variable for print1. So you cannot pass those data without, like for example x, a, you use it again, so it will not work. So you need to remember inside main, if you use a, okay, the a is inserted into print1. inside print1, it becomes another data according to what you define. If you define it as X, it becomes X. Okay, so this is the parameter way that we use in programming that you need to remember. Okay, so this is the code. Okay, I think okay, so this one is a non-void function without parameters. Okay, so as you can see here, I have, okay, like this one, I didn't put anything, okay, inside the function space, argument space. Here we have something inside the argument space, and here you don't have anything. So inside the argument space here means that usually there are void. Okay, so usually if you don't have, you didn't put anything, also fine. Okay, if you want to put, you can put it void here, just to make sure that you don't want to confuse lah. Okay, between this, you can put it here, void. Okay, here void. But here you do not have anything, you don't have to put anything lah. Okay, so up here void. So it's still going to compile without any problem. Okay, no problem inside here. So you can just use it as usual lah. Okay, without any problem. Okay, so the same thing here. Okay, you can see that if you have, in this case, square root. Okay, square root, not square root, square. Okay, square function square times with its own number. Square A. So in case here B is equal to square A, so the function of square here is, okay, if it's x times x, okay, and then it will return back the data into B. So here what in A is, if in A is number 2, okay, when you go into square root, the x is in number 2, and here 2 times 2 is 4, it will return to B as 4. Okay, so this is at the end result. Okay, B is 4, A is 2. Okay, so this is an example. You can try it yourself later on. And when you return those value here as what I return, okay, so you have to make sure that the file type, the function type is the same as the return data type. Okay, because you're calling it as like this. So in this case, if y is an integer, as user must be integer, and the return number here also an integer. Okay, it must be the same data type. So if you're not data type, then you have to work on with data type conversion inside the code. Okay, so example here you have, okay, float num. Okay, here you have float int number. Okay, so in here float num, you have num is equal calculate 10. So in calculate 10, you have see that the data of 10 is entered as NO. So float dfloat, okay, equal 5. Okay, number, okay, is this one what? Times equal dfloat. Okay, so which is return no, and here you get the data inside as the number is written back here. You can call back because it's written as num, and you can print f num. Okay, the same thing that what I did just now. Okay, so this one we already did it. Okay, so we can just proceed next. Okay, exercise. Write a function based on the following criteria: display, purpose, display statement. This function return nothing. Called by main, receive none, returns none. I think you guys, based on what I have given the example, I think you guys can do it by yourself later on. I think this one also the question will be in the lab. So you refer to the lab exercise later on. Okay, so you have an expression statement, okay, that you can use the function. Okay, like for example here, oh, this one is not yet lah. Okay, this one is normal one. Okay, so basically this is function lah. So it's not that difficult. It's a simple one. You just simplify your codes. Okay, like for example, nested function means that you use another function within a function. Oh, so based on my one example here, I covered all these levers. Okay, so you use a function within a function. So this is a nested function. Okay, so you have local variables, global variables, everything, and then you have arguments. So you have 1 or 2. You can enter 1 or 2 argument inside your code. Okay, like for example, in this case, you have GetSum. So you don't want to ask inside here. Okay, let's try where you have here integer x, y inside here. Okay, integer x, y. So you don't need to declare it here. So here y as user, z as user. Okay, So here is a little bit tricky that in case you want to do lah. Okay, so here you have some A, B. So you have here A is equal as user, B is equal as user. Oh, wrong. So GetSum is A, B. Okay, you have two data here, integer X and integer Y. I should put it this way. Okay, so here in GetSum you have integer X, integer Y. Okay, so what happened here? Let's try compile it. Oh, something wrong. Supposing integer Y. Okay, what's wrong again? Oh, we have one extra bracket. Okay, no error. Okay, so when you run it, you can see that the result is integer 1, 1. Integer 2, 2. Calculate, the result is 3. So now you have two data inside the GetSum. Here you can see here, I insert two data inside GetSum. So the purpose of GetSum is to calculate only plus addition of this number, the number that has been inserted in the two data here. So if you want to use a bigger number, okay, like for example, we try a bigger number here. Okay, compile and play. Try put in bigger number. Okay, 456 plus 823. So you get the data 1279. Okay, same thing. So this is what the code do. Okay, so GetSum will return the sum of these two numbers back to the main. So you see that I return Z into the as a variable sum. Okay, display sum. Okay, so here is the answer. So I don't think it's that difficult. Okay, so next exercise is write a function named age display age that receive age from main, and display age will display age and return nothing to main function. This one is the same thing as what we did in this display lah. Okay, so just age. Okay, this is what we did. So it's the same thing. So you can use the code here to refer, and then you can write your own codes later on. Okay, you have this exercise, everything. Okay, so it's not that difficult lah. In my opinion, not that difficult. You just need a little bit practice, and based on the lab sheet, I think you should be able to do it by yourself. Okay. So next we have interfunction communication. Interfunction communication is where things get really tricky because you pass address location to another function. Okay, so since we are not going, because you are not computer science student and not going to be focused on the programming up until this part, I don't think we should cover it because it will make you confused about what the function of pointer is. Okay, so we have an array that use pointers that you can pass between those functions, but for this moment, okay, I think if you want to take a look at it, you can take a look at it at the slides. Okay, you can refer it at the slides. Okay, I will not cover it during the class. Okay, so I think that's all for today. Then, do you have any question? I think the one code here, okay, that I put it inside our message here, okay, will be enough for you to cover to understand everything. Okay, so we have a lot of functions that we have. Okay, all of them, some of them for mathematics. For mathematics, we have in, okay, like for example, in this case, for mathematics, we have in, okay. So for mathematics, we have, like for example, math.h. So if you're looking for math symbol, math function, like for example, we have sine, cosine, tangent, calculate tangent. Okay, all of them are in maths.h. Okay, we have string.h. Okay, just a trailer for your final exam lah. So one of the question demonstrate to you a usage of maths.h. Okay, don't worry, don't be scared. Okay, one of the question is about math.h. So If you try to look at what math.h is used for, okay, you can understand it better for your final exam lah. Okay, so other than that, we have text color, text background, okay, clear screen, go to XY, everything. So this is one of the built-in function that you have under conio.h. Okay, math.h, we have square root, sine, cos, power of, log 10, okay. So in math.h, okay. So this is just a tip we used to give to computer science student. Writing a C program, it is best not to sit down at the keyboard and start typing. Think first about the program and what it's supposed to do. The best way, start with the overall goal and divide this goal into several smaller tasks. So this is the best way for you to do programming. Okay, so before I end my class, okay, just need to remember, modular programming is tend to make programming tasks easier. Okay, you can see that as I tell you here. Okay, you split the task of programming, okay, into 4 sections. Okay, so you can figure out, okay, firstly, I need to figure out what the overall program works, and inside that program, what functions, what processes that I need. So these processes is what you design in your algorithm, you design in flowchart, everything. Like for example, GetSum, okay, in your flowchart. So in your flowchart, you have GetSum function, GetSum process that calculate the addition of two numbers. But in order to calculate the addition to numbers, you need to know what numbers that are involved. So you have to ask the user. So you have functions that ask the user, a process that asks the user, and process that display the result. So all of them, you can draw the flowchart properly. So like this one is a square, 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 okay. So I think this one is trapezoid, square, no, this is a square, this is trapezoid, trapezoid, okay. So you can arrange them according to the way you want your programming works, okay. So do you have any questions so far? Do you have any questions so far regarding the codes? Because we only have one chapter left, and the last chapter will be one of the most easiest one, okay, how to create file. Okay, how to create file from your codes. Okay, so how to create data from file, and how to create file from data, and how to read data from file. So only that. So do you have any question? Do you have any question? No question. Ada soalan? Hello? Hello? You guys can hear me, right? Hello? Boleh dengar? Okay. So I think that's all for today. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. So please finish up your assignment. On Thursday, I will upload the lab sheet for this week. And next week will be our last class. Before the week after, we will conduct our hand-on test. Okay, any other question? No? No question? Hello? Oh, the test supposedly I will conduct it on Monday, but not next week, the next 2 weeks. Okay, so next week will be 18. Okay, your final last week for this semester is on 25, right? So your starting, your holiday is starting on 29. Okay, so 25 we will conduct our second skill-based test lah, hand-on test. Okay, so the next hand-on test is 15% marks of your total marks lah. Okay, your quiz, 4 quiz total is 10%. Okay, so we will have 2 more quiz. Okay, this week I think by Friday I will give a Google form for next quiz number 3, and next week I will give, before our hand-on test will be quiz number 4. So hopefully before your holiday you get all your carry marks on lah. Okay, online, so you can know what you should get for your final. So I think that's all for today. Before we end, okay, I need to collect an attendance first. Okay, sebentar ya. Okay, so I see you guys next week. Okay, so you have any problem, any question, please WhatsApp me. Okay, you can ask me any question regarding your assignment. I think the assignment question is really clear, already clear enough. Okay, what should you do? So in case you have any question, don't worry, just do your best. Usually people who do the best will get the best mark lah. People who wants to do ala kadar yang banyak tanya ni. Okay, so if you want to do ala kadar, tanyalah banyak-banyak. Ni kena buat ni, dapatlah ala kadar punya markah. But if you want to do, you get the best mark, you do the best as you can. Okay, So that's all for today. I see you guys next week. Inshallah. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Doctor.